Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my somewhat revamped new weapon review series. A series in which I review weapons, and that's pretty much it. But the video also has fancy graphics, so it's all cool and it's original, so don't worry. Now today, I'm going to be reviewing the M16A4, the burst-fire king of all assault rifles. Which really isn't all that surprising, since it's the only burst-fire assault rifle in the game so far. But before we get into the review, let me throw some stats and fancy graphics at your faces. The M16A4 does a maximum damage of 25 and a minimum damage of 18. The damage starts dropping off at 8 meters and comes to a complete stop at 55. It has a fire rate of 800 rounds per minute with a bullet velocity of 650 meters per second. The magazine holds 31 rounds and the reload times are 1.8 seconds and 2.37 when the gun is completely dry, meaning of course that there is no more ammo slash round slash bullet slash some other word for a bullet in the chamber. So now that I've thrown that at your faces, I'm going to talk about some of the advantages of using this weapon and some of its disadvantages. So let's start off by the positives. This gun is extremely accurate and effective at medium to long range. I might have to say it is one of my favorite weapons to use at long range, along of course with my trusty Scar H, which is my favorite gun by the way, in case all you fellas didn't know that yet. The 3 bullets it fires land very closely to each other, and you have very little spread while using this gun, which is exactly what you want on a burst-fire weapon that is made to be used at medium to long range. The reload times are also very decent, especially the short reload time. I rarely find myself being killed whilst reloading this weapon, but that's also because I never really try to get too close into the action with the M16A4. And that's something you really don't want to do. Never try to ace-23 an entire squad with this gun. You will get killed, and after killing the first guy, I guarantee you, you will die. Absolutely. And that brings me to one of the big disadvantages of using this gun. It performs absolutely terribly at close range. It does have a decent hipfire, I'll give it that, just like the M4, but the gun will jam on you a lot more often than you would like it to. And something that I've noticed when it jams is that it will refuse to fire during an entire burst, meaning you won't be able to fire for, let's say, half a second or so, which is a lot. And that will, without a doubt, result in you dying and possibly violently smashing your keyboard or controller out of frustration because your gun wasn't doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is shooting bullets. So avoid using this weapon in close quarter maps and just avoid going in too close. Stay back a little bit, try and pick off enemies from a distance, and that is when you will start racking up some kills with this weapon. It is an absolute wrecking machine if it is used correctly. It's actually very comparable to the KH-2002 from Battlefield 3, only slightly worse, I'd have to say. What I also found very useful and surprisingly effective is to use a suppressor on this weapon. If you run with the suppressed M16 and flank your enemies correctly, especially in a game mode like Rush, you can make the enemy bleed a serious amount of tickets. I absolutely love to run around with a suppressed M16. And that brings me to the attachments, so let's talk attachments for this bad boy. You're gonna want to equip an angled grip for this one, without a doubt. It significantly reduces the first shot recoil and your burst will land on target no matter what. Except of course, if you're not aiming on target, then I suggest you get aimbot. Just ask your local Russian hack stealer, he'll know what to hook you up with. The sights are totally up to you. I'm a Coyote fanboy myself, especially on this weapon. It makes it just so much easier to take out enemies at range. And that's pretty much it. No particular barrel attachment is needed for this weapon in my opinion, except of course if you want to run around all ninja and stealthy, then of course I suggest you go with the suppressor. A laser sight really won't do any good. Like I said, your positioning will determine how well you do with this weapon. Except, of course, if he's using an ace-23, then you're fucked. So, that's pretty much all I can say about the M16A4, fellas. It is a fine weapon if used correctly, and I have a lot of fun running around with this weapon, especially if I slap a suppressor on there. So go try it out and let me know what you think about this weapon, and of course, what weapon shall I be reviewing next? Leave it in the comments down below, and I will pick out one of your suggestions. Now, something totally unrelated to this video, or Battlefield 4 even, my new Untold Stories episode just released. If you haven't watched the first one, I highly suggest you do. It's a DayZ series where a buddy of mine and I discover what could possibly be the greatest mystery in DayZ fucking history. I am not even joking, it is that serious. So if you like DayZ related stuff and whatnot, definitely worth a watch. Thanks for all the kind words and support, guys. The Q&A is coming soon, by the way. And of course, I'm Dolce. And of course, I will see you in the next Wait for it. The video. There we go.
Baby.